All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me again. Tuesday afternoon now. Second interview a day. Freehold Township head coach Mike Stoia. Mike, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited
Yeah.
for the season to start.
Yes, I bet, everyone got out there yesterday, and I bet the coaches and players see all the tweets. They're excited the day finally arrived.
That's true.
Um, Before we talk about this season, I like to go over last season. You have a talented bunch. A lot this year, heavy senior class. They were juniors. They all started for you. What was your message and before the season started last year? Strategy message that you sent to the team.
Well, I mean, this class has been phenomenal for us. We have 8 seniors as of right now, and 7 have played varsity since they were sophomores. And honestly, it's like 6, I think, lettered as freshmen, or something ridiculous like that. So the reality is, every year they've improved. So and that's the biggest thing, just improving from one year to the next. And last year, I think we finished up around 18-10, and it's just they totally flipped the schedule, wins and losses from when they came into high school. And it's just this year, really the sky's the limit. We're not talking about championships. We're just really talking about, take it one practice at a time, one game at a time. And it's really nice just to kind of, return to a little bit of normalcy, in a chaotic world.
Yeah. When the season ended, I had your team circled as, the team, top 10 team, especially with just alone on the experience that you were bringing back. And we'll get into the players a little later. Last season, there's a couple games I wanted to talk about. First of all, the Trinity Hall series, you guys beat them the first time, a 1-point game, and then you end up losing to them in the Shore tournament.
Yep.
They're a tough team. They had the girl at the center, right? That went to Division One, right?
Yeah, Caitlin something. I can't say the last name actually. So
yeah. Just talk those two games, and what do you think the difference was that they got the better end in the Shore Conference tournament?
Honestly, I think the first game we focused heavily on Caitlin, who went to William and Mary, and we had a lot of success. We could hold them down because we really had one person to focus on. I thought the second game they did a much better job of moving the ball around, and a lot more people. It wasn't. They all stepped up, I thought. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think their whole starting five, really kind of contributed to that win. Mm-hmm. I forget her name. Even the center was hitting big shots, and I just think it was close, and they made 1 or 2 more plays down the stretch than we did.
Yeah, I mean, it was a close game, 4-point game.
Yeah,
that's a tough game. Another series that you got the better end during the regular season, and then that got you in states, Middletown South. What do you think the difference was in those two games?
The reality is just, I mean, the first game we played at Middletown South, I think we were scared. Mm-hmm. I really do. I think we weren't really up to the task of playing them. Mm-hmm. And when we came the second game at our gym, we really played well. I mean, we played really well as a team, and we played down the stretch. We limited turnovers, we hit foul shots, and we could stretch the lead where they couldn't come back. And then even in the third game was a tale of 2 halves. The mm-hmm. first half, we were in the States, we were on fire. We were clicking on all cylinders. And then towards the end of the third quarter, they went on a run. And then I forget her name, but she's back this year. She hit 2 deep threes on us. And that really, stretched the lead. Then we went on a little run at the end. It's really, I mean, in the A North, Middletown South is the team to beat. I know Marlboro has had a few great years, but Middletown South is always what every other A North team is kind of striving to be at this point. So, I mean, just competing with them, is saying, leaps and bounds for our student athletes.
Yeah, especially, Freehold, it's been known as a soccer town, when it comes to girls sports, soccer town. Absolutely. So it talks well about, how that's kind of turned into tide and it turned more into, more basketball too.
Well, honestly, it's utilizing soccer kids, and working around their schedules.
Yeah, that's, it's fun. Me and JT talked about that with Caitlin Decker, from Red Bank
Oh,
Regional.
absolutely.
She's an excellent soccer player, and then she plays basketball. And balance it. That happens a lot with the public schools. It's not like the private schools where you usually go there, you're playing one sport. That's why you're going to that school. Where public
Absolutely.
schools, to fill the rosters, you pick from different sports just to fill it up, and you get the athletes on your squad.
And that's why we do the dribble drive. It's because we try to recruit athletes, and all we have to do is get the defense's shoulders turned a little bit and less thinking, just go right to the rim.
Yeah. I ask all the coaches this. Do you think Freehold is a very strong youth soccer program, which helps feed the high school
Mhm.
program? Do you think I'm not familiar with the basketball youth program. Do you think though that that has some kind of not just in Freehold but in other towns, if they have a stronger youth program, it kind of brings um, the local players to stay home more?
Oh, absolutely. I know our numbers for Mid Monmouth have not been too strong, so that's something that has always been something we're looking to build on. I'm sorry. Go
No,
outside.
it's good.
No, go outside. All right. So I mean, that's one of the things that we're trying to build upon. And I know we work with the middle schools. We've talked to the middle schools. We actually have gone out to see middle school games, and it's still a crapshoot whether they're going to come to Freehold Township,
Or
or
go
they're
to
going to choose another regional high school to pick
yeah,
up a program, or go to RBC, St. Rose or
St. John Vianney.
St. John Vianney.
Yeah, that's talking to the public school coaches, it's issue, and I know there's some programs that are trying to build the relationship where they don't get the feedback that they're looking for, to help, start building a program, making the high school team, more relevant in that particular sport.
Honestly, in my 8 years, we've been blessed with two really good classes,
Yeah.
and we've essentially rode those classes out for 2 or 3 years.
Mm.
And because it's the first one would have been Sam and Tori,
Uh-huh.
and that class was really good. And they brought us into a top 10. We had an opportunity to upset an RBC in a short conference tournament, and then we made it to the quarters. And then it was this class, that came in as freshmen, and now they're not going to probably have the same senior year, but just because of what the pandemic is bringing, but they are, as talented, if not more talented than that group. So, I mean, I guess at a true public school, you have to ride it in waves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it seems like. If you look at the public school, it's
Yeah.
like a wave. Um, you know, Talking about this year in the senior class, what are some of the issues you're facing as a coach, and the players are facing? I know a lot of coaches are bringing up that the window during the summer was smaller than in the past. So just what are some challenges you're facing?
The biggest challenge was no off-season workouts, no skills and drills, over the summer, or no open gyms in the fall. So really, the continuity of playing with each other is not there. All right. One of the things we noticed too right away is conditioning. All right. People aren't, and if they are going to these trainers and stuff, they are working on their skills, but not a lot of them are conditioning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, getting in basketball shape is another thing, as opposed to being able to hit foul shots or, shooting threes and stuff. So one of the biggest things we're noticing, especially after the first day, was conditioning is the major issue at this point.
I had a player. I texted a player last night. I said, "How was first practice?" And her response was, "I am out of shape." And she's going to a high D2 school, and she said I'll be fine by in a week. And my comment to her was, that's because everyone was working on their skills and stuff. They weren't working on the condition. And me and another guy who does this similar things through the whole state, we've been saying for 4 months, I'm curious how the players' conditioning is going to be with the late start, and things being closed down as long as they are. And you just hit it right on the head.
Well, it's funny. I think now a lot of people don't just go running outside. A lot of people go to the gym to run.
Yeah.
So when gyms close down,
Yeah.
workouts close down.
Yeah.
Nobody realized they could just throw on a headset and go outside.
Yeah, that's funny because I'm opposite. I don't do cardio much anymore, but I always rather the outside than the gym. But yeah, it seems like everyone's on the treadmill or elliptical these days in
Yes,
the gym.
or a Peloton.
Oh yeah, the big Peloton.
Yeah.
Now we'll start going through your roster.
Okay.
Like I said, it's very senior heavy. First we'll start with Hannah. Your center. Monster on the boards. Hard. hard to match up with because there's not that many teams that have that kind of height.
Mm-hmm.
And what impressed me during the summer league in Point Borough, Point Pleasant, and the fall league was her turnaround jumper looked so good during the summer. Can you just talk a little about Hannah?
Yeah, Hannah has some, she's a very hard worker. She's somebody who's very athletic and honestly can play the whole game. She really does. I mean, the amount of times I've sat her, taken her out has been few and far in between. I think she's only been in foul trouble twice in her 3 years of high school, and one was her first game ever. But the reality is she's trying to develop as more of a stretch four, right, to play on the next level. So she's worked very hard in the off season, all right, starting really, last year into this year on the turnaround jumper and pump fake going to the rim. All right, she doesn't want to be really a true back to the player, back to the basket player. So she's really kind of developed, and she's honestly going to be able to help a lot. If you hear my kids screaming in the background.
Yeah, like I said, it was impressed just seeing her turnaround jumper because I saw your team a couple times. I didn't really see it that much during the season, but it looked good. I would say your team looked looked good. You could tell that they played a long time together because they your as a whole, your team looked pretty good during the summer and fall league, I thought.
Well, 4 out of the 5 starters have been playing together for 6-7 years.
So, yeah,
they better know each other.
Yeah. The next two, I want the Ellsbury twins. They just recently committed, right?
Yes. Yep. Over the break.
Just talk about them because they are two different players. One's a
I've
very
always
good.
said they complement each other so well, and honestly, they complement Hannah's game as well too.
Yeah.
I mean, the three of them, even throwing in Lindsay Lloyd, who you're going to bring up next.
Yeah.
I mean, each one of them plays their role to a T. Tanya is more of a slasher, and even that Tanya has started to work on her outside shot, so you'll see her shoot more from behind the arc this year as well. But Tanya is a phenomenal passer and a penetrator. She really, when our offense is clicking, she's usually in the groove. Okay. And she's somebody with that elbow jumper that is, I mean, she's made it famous. I think she brought it back because nobody shoots it anymore. And her sister is more of an outside shooter. At least she thinks she's more of an outside shooter, but she has the ability to drive to the rim. Okay. And she's more of the defender and more of the vocal leader. Whereas Tanya is kind of her head down, just grinding it. Yeah. Kaylee's much more vocal. She'll step out, hit the big three. Right? And Kaylee's really, I mean, on defense, she's, the vocal leader. She's going to put everybody in place and really kind of, set up and make sure everybody knows where they're going to be on offense or defense.
Yeah.
And it really complements Hannah because, it's essentially each one of them is not competing for the same role.
Yeah.
So, I mean, each one plays their role to a T.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the way, Tanya plays the point guard, when she's handling the ball. Like you said, she's great driving it, getting the ball into the right person's hand at the right time.
Absolutely. And even that, she went to the foul line. It was like something like 10, 11 times a game at one point last year. So, I mean, she's getting to the line, and then if she misses or she doesn't get fouled, Hannah cleans it up. So,
that's why, I liked your team coming into this year. Everyone complimented each other. Next, obviously, you brought up Lindsay Lloyd. I know Lindsay well through soccer. To me, one of those smart players, good on the defensive end and, kind of just knows her role with the team. Just talk a little bit about Lindsay.
Yeah, Lindsay, whoever the other player's best offensive player is, Lindsay's going to be on her. It doesn't matter if they're, 6'3" or, 5'2". All right. We've put her on pretty much anybody and everybody, and she will keep them below their average. And she does it through hustle.
Yeah.
And she really is just all over. I mean, she's like a gnat. She just harasses people. All right. And even that, she's bigger and stronger this year too. So, I mean, she's developing herself into, a credible threat on the defensive end. And she has scored a lot more last year.
Yeah.
I think she was up to like 5 or 6 points a game, I think. I forgot off the top of my head. But even that, she has the ability to drive, and if you leave her wide open, she's going to hit a three. I mean, I remember last year at Sayreville, she hit a huge three. We were either down one or up one, and she stretched the lead, and it was a game where nobody else was shooting well. So she knows when to pick her spots offensively, but defensively, she's a grinder. She's just, I mean, she's in your face for the entire time, and she's never tired.
Yeah. An interesting stat with her, because I got the stats in front of me. She had 95 rebounds last year.
Oh yeah, honestly, she got taller. I mean, even now, I think she's taller.
Yeah, I was shocked when I was talking to her after one of the soccer games that I noticed she seemed taller than
Yeah.
last season.
The beauty with her, she can't sit still anyway. So, I mean, if the ball's going up, she's going to run after it. I mean, she's not going to stop. So, I mean, and she's one of the more physical players as well. Right? Her and Kaylee don't mind putting a body
Yeah.
on people, driving them out. All right. And I think that, sets the tone too for the defense.
The next player I want to bring up who had a big role with your team last year, Emily Tran. Just talk a little bit about her. What do you expect her role to be this season?
It's honestly, I'd like to see Emily Tran shoot more from the three. All right. We see it in practice. Nobody's seen it in games yet. All right. She's one of the best shooters on our team. All right. She just has to, feel more comfortable in her role and be more of a little bit more of an offensive presence. Because in practice, I mean, she can make, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, and really stretch the floor for us. All right. But a lot of times she defers to other teammates, much like a Lindsay Lloyd.
Yeah.
Right. She thinks that, the other three are for offense and she's going to be facilitating. But the reality is she does have one of the better shots on the team. And she's got to, when open, take more advantage of it because it's only going to open up the floor for the other people as well.
Yeah.
So it's not even being like a selfish thing. Maybe she should be a little more selfish. But she also, I mean, her and Tanya help break any pressure that we see. And she's very high IQ when it comes to basketball. She makes passes that sometimes, go out of bounds because nobody's expecting them. So, which is good and bad. But she sees the floor well. And really, I mean, her shot is something that we want, to encourage her to take more of because it'll only make us better.
Yeah, that happened when I played basketball. I always tended to defer if I knew there was a better scorer when, my coach would be yelling, take the shot. You should take the shot.
Well, she's done it a lot. And you'll see towards the end of last year, she started shooting a little bit more.
Okay, good.
And I think it's just, a developmental thing. Like she's, needs that confidence. And, it's funny because they played together for so long. I mean, that they've been the five, all five of them were on varsity their freshman year and they played, different roles. Obviously Hannah started, Kaylee and Tanya came off the bench. The other two were more of a, really, JV swing players, but they were with them the whole time. And, you just see the confidence level, developing. And now they know it. It's their team, right? So, I mean, even when Lindsay in the fall, when they were doing the fall league, Lindsay would have soccer. She would come support her team. I mean, that's just, they're friends. And I think you don't have to be friends with your teammates, but it definitely helps and goes a long way when you respect and love the people that you're working with each and every day. And I think that's what's going to help us get through this season because we're going to take the necessary steps because we respect and love everybody,
one more senior, right? Courtney?
Two. I have Courtney and Maddie.
Okay.
Courtney,
what roles do you think they're going to have this year?
Courtney has a skill level is very high. Right? Very much, she can finish around the rim, and she's tall and lean. All right. A lot of times with her is she has trouble bodying up with the bigger defenders. But her skill level, I mean, I've told her for the last 2 or 3 years, like she's gonna help us in a major spot, and she can really play the 4 and the 5, and even probably stretch to the 3 a little bit. So I'm hoping she'll kind of fill that role. And then Maddie is, a softball player. They're both actually pretty good softball players, but Maddie is much more aggressive. And whereas Courtney can finish and is much more smooth, Maddie's going to go to the rim and usually get the end one or just, attack. She's much more attack mode, whereas Courtney's a little more finesse. So they can both play the 4 or 5. I mean, Maddie started when we beat Mid-South, and she did a great job that game. So she's, in a position where they're both going to help off the bench. And then we have one more senior, Emily Habestraw, who's, been in the program 4 years. So we'll see, if she can add depth or, where her role is, moving forward.
I mean, you have a very deep senior class. Do you have any underclassmen that you think are going to have an impact this season?
It's funny because we're talking about it, and everybody's on the fence of what to do. Because right now, how we're structuring practice in the COVID world is we're going to have varsity, JV, and freshmen all practicing separate times.
Yeah.
So, and there's no swing players anymore. So I think everybody in the shore right now, or state, who knows, maybe the country, I don't even know, are dealing with the fact, what do you do with those kids? Yeah. You just said, I have a senior-dominated team.
Yeah.
So a lot of kids may not get reps. So is it better to keep them in a varsity gym and let them practice all year? Or is it better to develop a whole JV team that then could take over next year? So
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're wrestling with. I mean, we have a couple juniors that if they stayed with us, they could be really good, I guess you could say scout team players because they're athletic, they're tough, they're gritty. But then I don't know if they'll develop as much. And that
Yeah.
would be, Elise with Stanley, okay, and then Alex Peanut, we call her. All right, so it would be interesting to see, we have to make that decision over the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Do we develop them on JV or do we develop them through varsity practices? Because I do. There's a sophomore named Julia Wallace who's in a similar boat. She's honestly like a Lindsay Lloyd, soccer player, runs, athletic, never gets tired. We have a transfer, sophomore, Gianna Patty. Gianna Patty she came over from SJV. So she can play a little bit. And there's a freshman. Hold on.
Yeah.
Leave, please. Go. Kids. And then the other thing, we have a freshman, Faith Kopik, who played in the fall and the summer and did a nice job too. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know the answer, so I can't tell you that right now. But there is some people, there's talent on the sub-varsity. It's just what do we do with them now moving forward? And that's kind of the biggest thing we're racking our brains with.
Yeah, I know soccer was a similar boat where they kept JV and varsity separate, but JV had, a lot of teams have JV players that could get minutes, but was it worth it, where they were only going to play 5-10 minutes in a game?
That's easily where we're at this point.
Yeah.
And then last year, my rotation was pretty much 7 girls.
Yeah.
So anybody beyond 7, I can't guarantee you playing time.
Yeah. And I understand. You're right. A lot of teams are going to be going through, making those tough decisions and stuff.
Yeah. So if anybody knows the right answer, please reach out.
Before we wrap up, I just want to go over, your schedule a little bit.
Okay.
You're in one of the better divisions, I think, more competitive divisions. Probably Marlboro is the team that everyone's going to say is the team to beat there. And then I'm going to say, you guys in, Middletown South, probably, the 2-3, and Trinity Hall, very young team. It depends how quick Trinity Hall, develops. Just talk about your schedule and actually having probably one of the more competitive divisions.
We also picked up a home and a home with Howell too.
Okay, yeah. And I'm high on Howell this year too.
Yes, well, they're good.
Yeah.
All our kids have played with each other from, they were young. So that's a good, we picked up one game with them and then we're like, the hell with it. Let's just play 2. So we're going to do it. That's going to round out our schedule. Okay. And it's going to be a tough schedule. I mean, we scrimmage Toms River North.
Oh, that's tough scrimmage
where we're at with that. And then we go right into Manalapan, which, they graduated some, but so that's going to be a good test to see where we're at right away. Are we in shape? Are we executing? Because once we get out of Manalapan, the next 6 games, or it's at least 7, it could be 8. I forget when the second Howell one is, but it's going to be a tough stretch because then we got 2 with South. The Howells are going to be split up, but we go South, Marlboro, Trinity.
Yeah.
And then we end the year with a crosstown rival in Freehold Borough. So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a tough stretch. And it's going to be, it's interesting playing a day apart because, you could have a bad night. I mean,
Yeah, that's what Coach Caruso from Brick Memorial Soccer, he that was his thing when I interviewed him before soccer, is like having – in the past, you would have one game against a team and not play them for a couple of weeks. He goes, how do you say you get blown out, say his team lost 6-0, or even if they win 6-0, how do we get my team to get that game out of their head in 2 days?
Sure.
And that, basketball, you're going to be going through the same thing.
Yeah, at least we'll be able to correct the mistakes. I mean, they'll be fresh in our mind. So, I mean, if you play on Tuesday, you're going to fix it on Wednesday. Then you got to come right back on Thursday. So, I think that it should be interesting. I like it. It should be fun.
Is Freehold going to be streaming the games? Because I know some schools are trying to get that up and running.
I believe the last I checked, we were trying to. So we're trying to figure out what the best way to go about that is.
Okay, that's good.
I do think you're going to see that.
It seems like so far every coach I spoke to there, there's some kind of streaming thing that the school put in, so at least the parents,
we'll be able to see, especially with a senior heavy team.
Yeah. That those are the parents I feel bad for, is the parents,
yes, absolutely.
the seniors. So we'll see. One coach brought up maybe by the end of the season it'll open up where we could let a few of the parents in and stuff, but who knows? I know
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, and especially not in your school district.
Yeah.
They were tough during the soccer season.
Yeah, we run a tight ship.
Yeah, which is good. You understand. Both ways. I see both sides of the story. All right, yeah, Coach. That's all I have. I appreciate you joining me, and
thanks for having me.
And I look forward to if it's streaming, I definitely watch a couple games, and I look forward to see how your seniors do the next up. Where did I wanted to bring this up? Where did Hannah commit?
It's you're gonna I just Christopher Newpall in Central Virginia. I keep messing up in Newport, Rhode Island every time. So let me just quickly. I have it. Yeah, Christopher Newpall.
Okay.
Oh, Newport. No, it's not Christopher Newport University. All right, and they're really good down there in I think it's right in Central Virginia. Yeah. So they were like a top 20 team. She wants to be a nurse. They have a great medical program. Right. So it really sets her up for future success. It's great basketball and it's great academics.
I joke when I do the players interviews. I joke with the coaches, like all these girls, nurses, doctors, lawyers, physical. When I was in school, you played sports or you had book smart. You didn't have both. It's these girls they're so impressive with how they're able to balance with such good grades and play at such a high level.
Well, honestly, I think the sports leads you to better time management. And if you look at it, I mean, because every one of these female athletes that you're going through at the short conference, they're playing at a high level throughout the year, and every one of their grades, you never hear of somebody who has subpar grades.
No.
So I mean, it is something that should be a personal achievement to each one of them that their academics are as good as their athletic ability.
There's a girl I interviewed at Manchester early on, when COVID first hit. She's number one in her class in grades, and she plays 3 sports. She play and Lindsay plays 3 sports, and I think she said she was like 10th or something when I interviewed her.
Yeah, she's up there.
Which is impressive because it's such a huge school,
Yeah. We have almost 2,200 kids.
All right, Coach, I'll let you go. I appreciate you taking some time out for me, and I wish you and the team luck this season.
Thank you very much. Thank you for thinking of us.
No problem. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.